we see that there are a lot of startups coming up, but not every startup succeeds. And there are multiple reasons behind why startups are failing. And this is an important point to address here because it could be a situation in your GD. Hello everyone and welcome to the next video under the section of GK, that is general knowledge and current affairs. And today we'll be looking at a very interesting topic, something that I hope you guys have been really excited about, more so with the recent play of Shark Tank India. We've seen so many startups in the near past when it comes to India, and the growth of startups in India has been going up and up every year. What is it that is happening in this particular country with respect to startup growths is something we should definitely be aware of when it comes to our GDPI preparation. And hence, this particular topic is going to be of prime importance to everyone who is preparing for their GDPI sessions this year. All right, so let's get started and look at the growth of startups in India. We'll be understanding the Startup India project introduced by our Prime Minister. We'll be looking at the overall growth of unicorns in India and how it has actually shaped up. So ensure that you stick around right till the end. Make sure you're making all the notes required for you to answer when it comes to this particular topic for your GD. So make a lot of notes, try and come up with examples while I am conducting this session, because it's going to be beneficial for you to have your own examples, your own point of views also considered. Right, let's get started. See that there are a lot of startups coming up, but not every startup succeeds, and there are multiple reasons behind why startups are failing. And this is an important point to address here because it could be a situation in your GD where you've been asked to say the negatives about startups, right? How is a startup not, what is the reason behind a startup not being successful? So, in a situation like that, these are the points that you can talk about. Offer absurdly low prices in order to attract clients. This is a very bad way to go about it. They lack a viable business plan. What they try to do is western models जो होते हैं, western countries में जो models adopted होते हैं, they try to replicate those models out here in India, and that is a very bad move because consumers are different. You're talking to different set of people, and hence replicating models simply does not really help. Misinterpretation of market requirements. The startup doesn't really know what is the market requirement, and they come up with solutions that may not meet those requirements. If you don't have enough funding coming in, if you're not able to attract investors, you will fail. And executing procedures on a bigger scale, the scalability factor is not that easy, and if you're not able to do that, it becomes a problem. And startups are frequently pressured by venture capital companies to boost earnings, and then there's a lot of pressure being created and startups end up failing, right? So how can a startup actually survive when it comes to have being working without funding? So what you can do is, there are a couple of terms rather which are very crucial to startup industry, and that is something you need to know about. The first one is bootstrapping. What exactly is bootstrapping? Bootstrapping क्या होता है, जहाँ पे you're investing your own money to establish the particular firm and then reinvesting the profits. राइट, सो इनिशियली अगर मैं 100 रुपीज मेरे स्टार्टअप में डाल रही हूँ, व्हाट आई विल डू इज वो 100 रुपीज डाल के जो मुझे प्रॉफिट्स मिल रहे हैं, आई एम अगेन गोइंग टू री इन्वेस्ट दोज प्रॉफिट्स इनटू माय स्टार्टअप. So that is what is called as bootstrapping. The second option that we have is pre-booking. What you can do with pre-booking is that you pre-book the product and the money collected can be utilized to make an investment. Third and the most common one is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding में you are raising capital for your business through multiple sources. Second last is stocks. Employees might be paid with business stocks as a part of their wage. So तुम additionally money नहीं डाल रहे हो, you're only giving out stocks, right? Lastly, we have subscription model. Now, subscription model में क्या हो गया? It may generate consistent revenue for the firm, right? Because if it's a subscription model that you're promoting, you will end up getting a constant revenue from it, right? So these are the 5 ways that you can, make a startup successful, even without having the right kind of funding, right? Let's move on. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, that it can be a situation that you don't get the right funding for your startup, but it can actually be a positive. How? Because not having an investor does have some advantages. Let's look at the kind of advantages a startup gains when they don't have an investor. You have your own decisions to take care of. There is no pressure coming in from investors because an investor has obviously invested some amount of money. They will have some say when it comes to your business. So if you want to keep your business to yourself, you want to keep your decision making to yourself, then not having investors is actually a better point, right? So when one has a limited amount of money, you will end up spending it wisely. When you have more money, you may not make wise decisions. If you have product betterment options, you can easily do that without having an investor to approve it, right? So but and also having investors is a time consuming process, guys. ऐसे नहीं है कि तुम जब जाके सिर्फ pitch करो and you will get the investors. It's not as easy. In fact, even if you take an example of Shark Tank India, what we see on TV has actually been just the tip of the iceberg. Actually, there are so many other startups competing to get a chance to go there in front of the judges or sharks and have a chance to present their startup, right? So multiple things coming into the picture. Even in the company's growth will be gradual, one will be able to learn managing things bit by bit as the firm expands. So if you don't have investors, these are the benefits that you can have. Okay, let's move on to Startup India project, because this particular session would have been incomplete if you don't talk about Startup India project. Now, Startup India is an initiative which was launched back in 2016, October 16th of 2016, by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What is it aimed at? It's aimed at promoting entrepreneurship in our nation and to assist the businesses in creating more jobs for the population. It seeks to foster entrepreneurship among the SC, ST, and women's groups. So they have obviously been given a lot more importance in comparison to the rest. While it is, it's something which is definitely needed, because you need to promote or additionally encourage certain groups in the society to better benefit out of it. Let's look at the success of the campaign, though it also had some failures coming into the picture. We'll get into failures in a bit. What actually happened is that it encouraged entrepreneurs. What, according to the Global Unicorn Index of 2021, India became the third best, only after United States and China, right? So Government of India has established new incubators. It has made life simpler for startups. Now, there are also some benefits given, which is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016. A startup also has an option to close within 90 days after filing the application. So, the GST bill has significantly increased the rate of growth of startups in the country. Now that we've spoken about the positives, let's look at a little about the negatives as well of the campaign. Firstly, the Department of Industry Policy and Promotion has only approved 502 out of the 1,368 application forms. So obviously, the approval rate is very low, and the classification of a company as a startup has multiple layers, and because of it, a lot of startups cannot register themselves. Next, in certain circumstances, the startup strategy fails due to delay and lack of efficiency. Domestic angel and venture capitalists worry about the capital gains tax remain mostly ignored. Next, we have the overall amount of capital acquired by Indian entrepreneurs has decreased by 47.7%. Right? And when it comes to investing in Indian businesses, venture capital firms and angel investors are being more cautious, right? The ease of capital movement and the ease of conducting businesses are insufficiently steady. Very important points, guys. So what is the conclusion that you can derive out of this entire session? Number one, finance, SaaS, e-commerce, groceries and marketplace firms have been the most important contributors to the overall unicorn ecosystem, right? Startup India campaign बहुत important है. We have analyzed the pros and the cons of it. With expanding experience in startups and more government assistance, the success rate of startups in India is more likely to rise in the given future. More firms are bound to be become unicorns because there's a lot of investment options coming in. There are a lot of bootstrapping options also coming in when in people plan to invest in their own company and then reinvest the profits as well. All of those options are considered. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this particular session. It has been a pleasure to talk about it, and it's, as an Indian, you should be very, very proud of the startup growth in the country. All the very best for your sessions ahead.